Okay, I'm probably live now. Hi, everybody. I know I'm live. I just got to share this out.
Yeah, we're live now.
Okay, I'm getting there. I just got to send this out to a couple of groups here, and I'll send it to Spinja here too because she's at work. That's why we were having a nap earlier. Uh, Hi, Spinja. Love you. There's your link. All right. Okay, so I'm back, and this is where I'll like wave at the camera so I know to cut my audio, and I'll actually introduce you properly now. Welcome everybody back to the After Dark Show. I'm Don Rogers. I'm really happy to have back with me a person I now consider a friend is Mr. Ra Castaldo. For those of you that don't know, Ra is a worldwide known researcher, a gem and copper artisan that he creates energetic pieces to help people. And he's also a podcaster, and I'm actually really happy to say coming to the Forbidden Knowledge Network, from what I understand. So let me be one of the first to say, welcome, Rob, and thank you for coming back to have an awesome conversation about Sanskrit and solar frequencies.
Hell yeah, I'm excited to be back on. Like, yeah, I'll be joining to the Forbidden Knowledge Network. I just gotta fix my mic because I don't think this is a good enough mic for the camera. So I'm gonna use the Yeti mic for the Forbidden Knowledge Network. I just gotta get the new cord for it because the cord broke the other day. So yeah, I'm excited to be on that because I did like a radio show. Not just a podcast, but a radio show on a radio show network that was an audio radio show for like, man, from 2017 to 2018, 2024, the beginning of this year. So did early 2024. So it was almost 10 years I did an audio radio show. So it'll be good to start doing a podcast again, audio podcast. I have a podcast on YouTube as well. You guys could check it out. Space Water Podcast.
It's pretty dope. I've watched some of the episodes live, and he's always interactive and he explains what he's talking about, which is one of the reasons I love having him on the show, is because, like, at least for me, he can break down things that are like really complex into a way that most people can understand them. And like one of the most complex things people in their awakening and starting to research things on their own, they stumble across is Sanskrit. And I think unless you want to do the solar first, because I know you were pumped about that.
Well, it's all ties into each other because
Okay,
Sanskrit is the language of the sun. It's the language of the stars. It's the language of the gods. So the very sounds of the sun, the sounds of the light that we're absorbing, the very music of the universe is that primal sounds of the universe. That's what Sanskrit is developed from, right? So those mantras are about attuning to the primal sounds of the universe and harnessing, the cosmic consciousness.
so if I'm understanding this right, what you're saying is like there was a people at one time that developed a language because they could basically translate the sounds of the sun into an audible noise. And that's what Sanskrit is.
Yeah, it's basically you're harnessing the primal sounds of the universe to be in tune with the evolution and the flow of and harmony of the universe to move in at one with nature and the surrounding universe. And we've lost that knowledge. We've lost that capabilities. There's been wars on this planet over this knowledge. Right. So in ancient, I mean, people have heard of Atlantean, Lemurian, but we don't really have proof of those civilizations, right? But some of the most ancient civilizations that we have proof of go back to Vedic Sanskrit. And most of all the cultures, the ancient cultures from the Samothracians and Thracians that is in now what's Bulgaria area and those ancient cultures, the Mitanni, the Elamites, the Persians, the Assyrians, the Egyptians, all those cultures derived out of Vedic Aryan Sanskrit, right? And they were the Asura and Deva tribes that we have. So we probably should first explain what that even means, because people might not have even heard those names before, and maybe not even understand what they mean, and how most of what we know today as ancient cultures derived from this Vedic Sanskrit worldwide culture, right? So the Asura and Devas, they were basically consisted of five main ancient Vedic people, and all these families consisted of these five Vedic people. And we have like the Purus, the Anus, the Yadus, uh, the Travasas. These are some of the ancient five families of Vedic that made up the two tribes, right? The two sides, which is basically the Suras, which are the warriors, the Kshatriyas, right? And then you have the Brahmins, which are the Devas. And like the Devas are also called the shining ones, the bright ones, right? The ones that are illuminated like a star. And same thing with the Asuras, but the Asuras tend to be the warrior dominant ones, right? That are more into the power and greed and materialism and domination. And then you have the Devas, the Brahmins, which are the priest clans, right? So, but these are all shepherd priests, warrior priests. They all come from the same origins, but there's different pockets of clans of these two sides. And they were basically the ancient rishis, right? The ancient Vedic seers, right? The Vedic seers are called rishis. These are ancient seers of the Vedics, and they brought that mantra language, which is the language of the gods. And that's not just a fancy name. It literally is named that because Sanskrit is derived out of the primal sounds of the universe, right? It's derived off what they call Shiva's cosmic drum, which is basically the Om, right? Shiva is the Om, right? So when you hear that Om, that's basically the sun pulsating its streams of plasma light, right? It's literally the streams of intelligence that's coming from the sun. It's the beat of the sun, that Om, 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 right? That's basically, it's derived from Shiva. Shiva is the Om.
So basically, and even today, is that the information we're receiving? Is that pulsating light frequency? Like when you, okay, like you and I both know what a download is because we both get them. Like, is that basically a, a form of that stream of information?
Well, we're all absorbing light, right? We all
Yeah.
absorb the light. So we're literally like walking antennas. So the streams of light that's coming from the sun, that's the star of our solar system, and all suns and stars. We have all different alignments that are going on that are connected to our sun and our star and our earth, right? We absorb that light, right? So they learn to form a language to be able to communicate with that light, right? Not only telepathically, but through symbolism and sound, because the universe, literally, that light has a sound. The light, the electrons and everything, as it comes into planetary systems, magnetized planetary systems, they form a chorus, right? And that chorus is broadcasted to keep the harmonics and the planet stabilized, and for all the everything to flourish and grow and to receive the light. Right. So that mantra language was developed to communicate with that light. So we can call out to the sun and tell the sun what we need as a species to be in harmony as the planet, and what the harm what the and the plants and everything. We're in harmony with all of that. And we'll be able to communicate that with mantras each morning. Every day there was three different mantras: the morning sun, the noon sun, and the nighttime, right? At the dawn, right? And they would be specific mantras to the light, right? So we've lost that communication. We've lost that language.
Is Do you think that that's why we are no longer able to like do things like instantaneous manifestation, like or our telekinetics or all of those things? Like, is that related to when you say we've lost stuff? Is that related to that?
I would say most likely it's related to that. We seem to be having like amnesia as a species. You know, we've lost so much knowledge so many times. We're grasping at straws to try to figure out what symbols mean, when through scholarship alone, it's not going to work that way. We have to find that connection. And I started realizing through, I guess you could call it a form of automatic writing, right? But since I'm a young child, I've been doodling and creating art, creating music, poetry, all sorts of things. And I didn't realize the significance of some of the symbols even I was doodling until I started to get more into this plasma physics and just the way certain structures are made to funnel the light, right? To funnel the solar wind streams, right? To planetary systems, right? So it seems that these funnels or conical structures are formed to bring the light, the solar wind, aurora flow to planets, right? And these structures sometimes are seen even on the planet. I mean, I've seen them even form when lens flares happen when you're in the sun taking pictures and you see these little funnel things coming in the lens flares. It seems that certain structures form like that to channel in the light and to funnel the light. It's very interesting. And I could show the symbolism all over the planet. I mean, through ancient cultures all over. You can see even in the work of David Lapointe, he showed what he calls primer fields, and these are
Yeah.
these conical structures, right? That's very interesting. And when you have you know actually documented experiments that are showing these things appear, I mean, that's proof and evidence right there. And science needs to start changing how they look at things because um, there's unfortunately too, like there's a lot of dogmatic theories out there that become religions of their own, right? Like you have some people that called like they have the electric universe that has certain properties that what I'm speaking of. You have the plasma universe people, the electric universe, the thunderbolt of the gods people, all these different, but their research ends up becoming a religion of its own. And they have to stick to their guns because they've put out their research, but that's not how science works. We should be changing the information as more things evolve, as we start to learn more. And unfortunately, we're more behind now than these ancient cultures were thousands of years ago.
There's a question in the chat. Jason H wants to know, is this like cymatics?
What's cymatics?
I'm unfamiliar as well. Jason, if you want to give a quick explanation of cymatics, because I'm drawing a blank on that one too.
But it's interesting because like I do solar meditations every day too, and the sun has been showing me things that line up. If you go to spaceweather.com where the sunspots are and certain solar storms that are coming, like certain things that I'm showing from the sun, streams of electric fire coming out of certain regions of the sun, and it's more in-depth vision of what the two-dimensional view that they show you on spaceweather.com. But I've been showing various storms that are coming from various spots on the sun and how they affect our emotions, our energy, our planet, and how they also this the music, the sound of the light, the sound of the storms that the sun is sending is what's opening up and sending certain harmonics to the planet that opens up the the earth of the planet, like with earthquakes and things like that, and makes volcanoes rise. So I've been shown this within my own meditations that the reason even how certain volcanoes form is through the sound of the sun. Various sound, and there's a reason why ancient temples were built in volcanic regions, these sound temples like Borobudur in Indonesia, where the most volcanic region on the planet is, right? So volcanoes are literally formed from the sound of the sun, where the position of the moon is, the moon's light, and it's like a sound, a music that literally opens up the earth and rises new earth out of the sea. Volcanoes rise that way. It's all through sound and harmonics, and it's being sent from the sound of the light from the sun.
Does that same frequency then have a similar effect on us? Like a lot of us feel like we're upgrading, all feel like we're
Oh, for
changing
sure.
and our
For
frequencies are
sure.
changing. Like, so that's
We're
all
we're
related
like I
to.
said, we're absorbing what's coming from the sun, right? It's connected to the spinal current of humanity, right? So our emotions, our physical health, our energy, all of that is going to be affected by solar storms and what's bombarding the planet, right? And there's ancient temples, right? There's ancient temples that were built mostly in volcanic regions from the past, right? So in Hebrew, you have a word called kabiri, right? It's spelled, it could be used sometimes with a C, sometimes with a K, Kabiri, right? This word kabiri is sort of like a generic word. Sometimes it's used um, like hand in hand with the Orpheus mysteries and people like that. But the Kabiri are the ancient titans. They're the ancient seven rays of light, right? The ancient celestial ship of the north, right? They're the ones that bring the holy fires, right? The light from the stars, the light from the suns. And these are the Asura and Deva tribes as well. And the Kabiri were the seven great gods of the ancient past, right? Of the Asura Deva Titans. And they were called the children of the sun, right? They were connected with the divine ancient sun, the Atalis, they call them, right? The Titans were called the Atlanteans, right? This is where we get the Atlanteans from, right? And these Kabiri, they were the ones uh that brought light to this world, right? That brought the rays to this world for life to form, right? That's what they talk about in theosophy, in a lot of the ancient writings. And the name Kabiros, right? It means the powerful through the fire, right? And they built their temples in the most volcanic regions on the planet for a reason, right? These were sound temples, right, that helped bring out volcanoes and open up volcanoes. And right now, we're going through this same time right now where solar storms are at its peak. We're having worldwide earthquakes, volcanoes that are going to be waking up, right? Or just erupting, that have been constantly erupting over the years, but we're going to have ones that have been sleeping over a long period of time waking up. And I've noticed that most likely places on the earth are going to correlate to spots on the sun that are having solar storms. So if you see the sun and on the lower right hand region of the sun, you're having a active regions of sunspots that have solar storms coming from them, you're going to see similar regions on the earth that correspond to regions on the sun having those earthquakes and volcanoes erupting, right? It's very interesting.
That is really cool because it makes sense because the frequencies would be different. Um, Jason H explained that a little further when you were talking about the pattern that keeps emerging from the
Oh,
frequency.
the
He
water
was talking,
patterns. Yes, yes, yes. The water patterns.
right?
I know what he's talking
Yes, he was
about. Yeah.
talking about Dr. Moto's book. So
Yeah,
yeah,
even the temple Borobudur looks like one of those patterns. From if you look at the bird's eye view, it looks like a frequency pattern that was sort of frozen in place, right? And there was a reason why these temples were abandoned because they're used to bring out volcanic eruptions. They're used to bring new earth, right? Volcanoes is new earth. It's for uh it's literally for the earth to be ignited in fire and for a new age to rise in its ashes, right? This is the time that those temples were used for, right? That's why they were buried. There's certain temples like Gobekli Tepe, uh, certain temples all over the planet that were buried for certain reasons, and these were by the Kabiri races, right? The Samothracians were one of these Kabiri, right? For people that don't know what the Samothracian mysteries, these are like the Orpheus mysteries. Bulgaria area is one of their main areas where the ancient Thracians lived. Um, and there's all sorts of ancient gold that they did. I mean, so much with the Thracians. There's holes. I mean, when the democratic changes happened in 1989 in Bulgaria, the Bulgarian military and governments and psychics that they employed as well went digging in various locations all over Bulgaria, like in the Sarchina hole that they digged with Operation Sunray, right? And they also did in the Stranya Mountains in Bulgaria, right? This is the near the Rhodope Mountains. This is the Mountains of Orpheus, right? One of the most ancient spots on the world. They have certain spots where they thought like an ancient entity was buried in stasis, right? That had to do with the beginning of the Homo sapiens race, right? So a lot of that came out in like the 19, they were using Bulgaria is one of the poorest countries in Europe, right? And in 1990, 1989, right when the democratic changes happened, they were using money they didn't have to dig for 4 years, bro. Right? They were digging for 4 years, looking for certain things in Bulgaria. Right? Nobody knows. There's rumors all to this day. Supposedly, all this paranormal activity started taking place once they started digging. They had asked Baba Vanga, who was she's a psychic. She's a well-known seer, right, from the 80s, and they were asking them her opinions on it and all this. But yeah, there's all sorts of lore even to this day. It's a popular, well-known. It's like the Bulgarian Area 51, that area, and there's a lot of stuff that happened. The Wi-Fi guy just did the episode on it. I saw it, but I've been talking about this location for years, right? It's a well-known mystery in Bulgaria as well. But the Thracian civilization, they're connected to the Asura Deva tribes. They're actually one of the most ethnic cultures and diverse cultures that ever existed. There's a lot of people that talked about them in the writings and said that they were these, they had giants as well. They were these big warriors, right? The Asura tribes were warrior tribes, right? And they had this is where you get the Kabiri is where you get the word Kabbalah from as well, right? It's the knowledge of the stars, basically.
Yeah. Um, Back when you were talking about volcanoes creating the new Earth, William kind of said something in the background. Is that where we get the references to like the rise of the phoenix in the old scriptures and texts? Like, is that
Yeah,
what you're talking about? Like, it's
yeah, the Vulcan god, Prometheus, all of this is connected to that. And that's one of the main gods of the Kabiri is the Prometheus, and the Thracians was the Prometheus, right? This is the volcano god. But don't get it twisted. I literally think, and maybe science doesn't really realize this so much, but the harmonics that is coming from the sun is what forms earthquakes. It's what forms volcanoes. It's what forms all our climate and weather. Everything that has to do with the planet is coming from the sun, right? And it depends. And it's talked about in right in there's a famous myth that goes along with what's it called? The island of Patmos, right? Now this is where the book of Revelation was written, right? Prophesized. John from Revelation. He John of Patmos, right? He was exiled to this island, and he in like 90 AD, and he was, I think it was the Roman Emperor Domitian that exiled him for, because he was like speaking about Jesus, the gospel of Jesus everywhere. So he was exiled to this island. This is a Thracian island. This is a volcanic island, right? And Patmos, there's ancient temples of prophecy, solar temples of the ancient mound builders, right? These mound builders that are all over the planet. There's a fraternity of ancient architects and builders that were the Kabiri, were the Samothracians, the Asura and Devas. They're part of this ancient, you could call them Nephilim. It's a more Hebrew word, but they go back to the Asura and Devas, and sound and prophecy are known to happen in volcanic regions, in regions where there's auroras, in regions where there's solar wind and weakness in the magnetic field, right? And the volcanic temples, they're aligning with those primal sounds of the universe and their mantras. Those temples in Indonesia, they're Hindu Vedic temples, right? And they're Sanskrit temples. They're the Asura Deva temples. And Kabiri, Orpheus, all these generic names have to do with these tribes. And the island of Patmos is almost entirely volcanic. And this island is like literally built on marble. Like somebody rose it out of the sea and put it on marble, right? And it has volcanic rock and right on top of the marble, right? And this island was said to once be called Litos, right? And it's dedicated to Artemis, who is known as Litodia, and she's the daughter of Leto. But the legend has it that this island was once sunk into the sea, but all the way down at the sea. But Artemis saved it with her divine touch, right? Bringing it back to the surface and raising it with her divine touch. Now, the legend goes that Selene, the moon god, and this is incredible because it's showing real science. They're talking about the moon rays and the sun rays making a deal to raise this island up out of the sea, right? It's incredible. So the legend goes that Selene, who's the moon goddess, right? She's the sun at night, the moon goddess. She bathes the island, which is at the time now, she's at the bottom of the seas, right? So Selene is bathing this island with her enchanting moon rays, right? But while the island is at the bottom of the sea. So it's talking about the moonlight, the moon rays being close to the waters, the moon probably being very close to Earth, right? And the moon rays or moonbeams are enchanting this island as it lay beneath the waters, right? So now Artemis, while now visits her friend Selene, now they talk about Artemis coming and visit the moon god. Artemis visits her friend Selene and takes notice that this island is shimmering like a jewel at the bottom of the sea because it's been illuminated by the moon rays, right? So Artemis falls for the enchanting beauty of this island, and she begs Selene to let her have it. So Artemis goes to her brother Apollo. Now Apollo is the sun, right? She goes to her brother Apollo for help, and Apollo has to go to Zeus, right? And then Zeus has to go to Poseidon. Now Poseidon, everybody thinks of as the god of the waters of Earth, but in fact, he's the waters, but he's the cosmic waters god, right? Also, right? So the sun, Apollo, he goes to Zeus, who's like the god of the universe and the god of the sun, and Zeus convinces his brother Poseidon that this island was of no use to him, and that because it was covered in water, and Poseidon says, "Yeah, I have no interest in it." So he permits them to bring this island up from the watery depths, and then the sun god Helios gives the gifts of warmth and light to the island and brings it to life, right? And then Artemis then persuades all of its inhabitants from the area around Mount Latmos to move to that island, right? And to bring people there and bring the vibration there, and this is where the book of Revelation is prophesized from, right? The guy John in the Bible prophesies it from the temple of Artemis, right? This is where the Christians receive their most amazing prophecy, is from the temple of Artemis, right? They don't tell you that in the Bible that too much, right? Christian school don't bring that too much up. But this is a volcanic rock. So what's interesting, if it's a volcanic island, that means that island would have once been at the bottom of the sea, right? Because a volcano, they rise up from the bottom. So that myth about Patmos and the goddess Selene rising it up from the waters, I mean, that's how volcanoes form. They're really telling you the science behind it, though, in that mythology, how the sun and the moon They're literally the rays of light have to be in communion with each other, and they have to bring music, illuminate it with their rays of light to rise new earth, a volcano up from the sea, right? And that's exactly where that book of Revelation was prophesied from. And that book of Revelation talks about cosmic winds coming, all sorts of devastation coming, right? And we're coming up to that in 2025, right? We're going to have the peak solar storms of 2025 is going to be, and to show you just from some of my old notebooks of how I just like go into like a doodle. You see this conical structure at the top? I'm just
Yeah,
doodling. I don't know if you could see this, but
yeah, there it is.
with the ring inside, the ring here in the middle, that was
Yeah,
just from me being on the page and just going like this, just going like not even looking at it, just doodling. And I've been getting things that like come up like that for years, right? And I didn't realize that that symbolism is in everything, and that's the solar wind flow. That's the way the light comes from stars, right? That's the way it gets funneled. Those are the structures that the plasma forms to funnel light to planetary systems.
yeah. No, I thought something that you said earlier was really cool about how the frequency coming from the sun was creating the volcanoes and the earthquakes and stuff, and it actually creates everything on Earth because as long as you have the basic understanding of quantum physics, and it's day one, is everything on Earth is derived of molecules and frequency and vibration. Tesla was onto that, and a lot of other really smart people have been as well. And the frequency that we're always talking about and always living by and being influenced by is the one from the sun. And like you said, all the other light sources, like the stars and other suns and other galaxies in the universe. But it's really neat when you break it down that something from beyond us is really kind of controlling how our lives are.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And the sun right now is going through like it's like it's going to incinerate the planet in a way. Like we're being cooked by the sun in many ways, but right now we're going through a rebirth time where I'm looking for the word. I was trying to think of the word I was going to say, but it's like you know, a replenishing or I was looking for a different word though. There was a different word I was looking for, but it's like the sun is going to rectify the technology that we've been misusing, right? And it's going to bring a new world, right? It's going to bring death to this technology that we've implemented. Like this the stuff that they're trying to implement in the next year, we don't have the kind of energy for that technology, right? They want to just be like, let me give you an example of what they want to implement too. Like people that have YouTube channels will be able to just say something like this in a prompt, right? Well, create me a video that has all the knowledge of Sanskrit that we have data on, right? Because all the data of the human race has been already uploaded, right? They're looking to create synthetic data now, right? So there'll be a technology that they want to implement where you could be like, create me a video that has all the knowledge of Sanskrit in it and constantly reproduce videos on that until one in the algorithm goes viral. And I want you to do this within 30 seconds. And the
Yeah,
technology will literally make you a well-detailed video on all the data we've ever had access on in Sanskrit. And it will make as many videos as it has to until one of the algorithms picks up a viral video, right? So that's the kind of technology that's going to be available but we don't have the kind of energy for that. So we're either going to have to make a deal with Canada for the United States to make a deal with Canada, we're going to have to or have the Arabs join in, right? But they're not going to adhere to our security or anything like that. There's going to be a lot of different things that are happening, right? So where are we going to get this energy from? Right? The
yeah,
sun is where they're going to try to tap the energy from, and the sun is not going to allow that.
No.
And we've been getting messages from the sun, Don. Do you realize the light is, you can't fathom the intelligence the light has. Think about the sun, how it can create. You can't even see the types of particles that exist that come from that are coming, right? The microscopes, telescope, nothing can see. There's particles that we don't even understand what they do, right? So the kind of intelligence and information that's being sent from the sun, we can't even fathom. The light can send us holographic images, right? To try to change who we are as a species. The sun knew ahead of time what was going to transpire on the human race. And the sun has been giving us messages to try to prevent that, right? You have certain things have been like mistranslated and given like under Catholicism or different religions, but you can see almost every huge event that was prophetic, like Fatima or things like that, right? It has to do with a miracle coming from the sun, some sort of solar event where certain people were literally, the streams of light literally were channeled right to a specific person or group of people where they were the only ones that can see what transpired in the light, right? Certain things holographic images would appear in the light, right? Out of the light from them and certain people. And what were they receiving? What were they? They were all getting messages of our future chastisements because of our actions, right? You can look at the third secret of Fatima. Friggin' Catholic Church literally killed Sister Lucy or hid her away or did something with her because there was a new Sister Lucy that emerged. I don't know if you know about the third secret of Fatima.
No.
Well, Fatima happened right before World War One, right? Right before the Spanish or right during the Spanish influenza, right? Right in a real meek, real bad time on the planet, right? And there were three kids that were receiving prophecy from I think it was on the 13th of the month. For each month they were going back, and unfortunately it got just like with Juan Diego and that happened in what, the 1500s, when in the Virgin of Guadalupe experience. Fortunately, it gets translated as the Virgin Mary, but I in no apparition I actually think the entity or the holographic image ever identified himself as the Virgin Mary. It was just interpreted that way by the church or by whoever, right? But they were seeing like glowing people, glowing children, glowing little people, or glowing women, right? Giving them some sort of prophetic vision about if things don't change on the planet, it's going to get bad. And this is the same type of thing that I was shown when I had my experience in early 2002, right? It was a prophetic vision of possible chastisements that's coming to Earth, right? And I think we're headed towards that in 2025. I literally think that we're going to come a time, and there's well-known Anna Maria Taigi, who has the 3 days of darkness prophecy, which I think is explaining a solar event. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've heard.
she had. I have it written down over here. The prophecy. Um, Basically, and I'll do a little breakdown real quick afterwards. But the Anna Maria Taigi in the 1700s, or maybe it was in the early 1800s, because she lived from like the 1770s to like the 1830s. But this was her prophecy of the 3 days of darkness. She said, "There shall come over the whole earth an intense darkness lasting 3 days and 3 nights. Nothing will be able to be seen, and the air will be laden with pestilence, which will claim mainly, but not only, the enemies of religion. It will be impossible to use any man-made light during this darkness except blessed candles. He who out of curiosity, opens his window to look out or leaves his home will fall down dead on the spot. During these 3 days, people should pray rosary, beg for mercy from God, and all enemies of the church will perish. The air shall be infected by demons who will appear under all sorts of hideous forms. And then she goes on to say Peter and Paul will appear with a flash of light from the body, converting Russia and all this stuff. I think that it's given a lot of Catholic twist to things because uh, you know, they want to make it part of the church, but you got to take certain things out of it that she was shown. And this lady, let me tell you something very interesting about Anna Maria Taigi. She talked about she had this mystical sun that would appear in front of her. But the way that it's drawn is like a Taurus, and almost like when you see like here, this is the Sombrero Galaxy, but it's kind of like
Yeah.
in a Taurus, and it looks like there's almost like a crown of thorns around it, right? With that, the way it's the planet, like the way the disc forms around it, right? She has, let me see if I could pull it up for you. Can I share screen?
I'll flip control over to you. Hold on. 1 second. Oh, just 1 sec, Rod.
Yeah, take your time. I'm trying to pull it up
There.
anyway. All right, I'll pull it up in a
And
second.
if you're listening on audio, come over to YouTube and check it out.
Fuck. All right, here, wait.
While you're looking for it, Spin just said in the chat, I wonder what frequency that toxic blue light they keep putting on us is. You know, the shit like when you turn off your TV and it like blasts your eyes. There's got to be some like that's being done intentional.
Yeah, it's really bad that we all have these phones on us, and
Yeah,
I feel it all the time, like just absorbing into us. It's horrible. That's why people is very good to do my computer is not working right now. I'm trying to pull up Google. It's like saying it's not working. But it's very good to like cut the cord. So like we have, well, in Italian we have what's called the maloic, right? The evil eye, the maloicchio. Right? So that's very simple, like where people shoot you like a bad look or something, or bad intentions get thrown your way. These are cords that get stuck to you and your aura and your whole system, right? So like we have cords that come out to us that connect to every vibrating thing in our lives, right? And things that can even go across the whole world, or maybe possibly the whole universe. And these cords do come from our navel, right? So like it's very good for you to cut these cords. You can use it like you can even use your hand to cut them, right? Make this visual cut, or you can use like a chopping motion to cut those cords. And every day you should be cutting those cords. Visualize all those cords being cut each day because you have these cords that go out to all these vibrating things that you're connected to, right? And so it's very good to each day start brand new, those cords to be cut. So you're not holding on to all this different energies that are connected to different people and different objects and different things all over the planet, right? So it's good for you to cut those cords. I'll try again. For some reason, I'm trying to um it's telling me there's a diagnostic issue when I keep trying to go to like Google. I never had that
that
before.
that's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. I'm just in like the Microsoft search.
That's um. While you're still looking for that, do you think the
No, I can't
frequencies
pull
and
it
stuff
up.
that you're talking? Oh shit!
Yeah, it's not working right now, my computer, for some reason. I don't know if it's because I'm on Zoom, but I never had a problem before.
No, you've brought stuff up before.
Yeah, no, I never had a problem. Hold on. Won't let me search
This is
anything, I don't
crazy.
think. Yeah, I can't do it. You could probably just, oh, you're on a phone, right? So you can't.
Yeah, I can't search and do this at the same time.
I used to be able to pull up like a million tabs while I'm on Zoom. Now I can't
Yeah.
do shit.
That's wild.
Yeah. I don't know what the hell's up right now. Like I can't even go to like my own
Uh,
website.
do you think that
Let me put it back to you.
okay,
How do I do that?
uh click on participants, I think.
Yeah, I did it. I just made you
Okay,
host. Let me see if I could
okay.
pull it up now.
Um Spinja wants to know if she can help.
No, I was trying to find the picture of Anna Maria Taigi to show you the mystical sun that she used to pull that she they have pictures of pictures of her with her mystical sun, which is like a little Taurus type thing that would appear in front of her and it would show her images, it would give her prophecy. And it seems like very similar to what Vedic seers or yogis or people that reach the samadhi, um, you know, they sometimes will have these Taurus type structures appear over their head. Yeah, there's some type of diagnostic issue with my computer right now. I don't.
Oh shit. Uh-oh. Did he go? He's gone. Is it still live? Yeah, I'm still live. I guess if anybody's got a question in the chat, we'll wait for Raw to come back. Or yeah. I also wanted to get his thoughts, and hopefully again when he comes back, about uh the solar flare and whether or not a like blackout technology. I don't know if he's going to come back though, because he didn't even Facebook me here. This is crazy. We got butt hurt. I don't know if we hurt somebody's feelings or if it's just a technical issue or what. But yeah, that was that was a good hour of chat, but I didn't expect it to end like that. I'll give him a few more minutes here and see what's going on. Who's all in the chat? I've seen Woo. I see Jason. Oh my God, I'm the chick off a romper room. Romper, stomper, bumper, bait. No, if you're old enough to get that, uh, I know Dean Thorpe's there. Woo Rider, Jason H. Magic Mika. Yeah, I don't know. Um, his computer is not working. Oh, oh, Magic Mika. That's Ra's wife. Okay. I'm gonna cut it there and thank everybody for watching. Uh, we'll have to come back and do this again after Ra can get his computer up and going. Uh, hold on. Oh, yes. We were talking about romper room stinches in the chat. Yes, Kyla, I see you. Fuck Miss Fran because she never did. I'm so you're way too young to get that, dude. Um Mika, is he gonna come back or does he want to do this another night? Jason H said that's what happens when your info is too good. Yeah, I had a friend on 3 different episodes, 2 different shows, and every time he got to the certain part of the story, he's ex-military, it would just cut out. It would just like blah, blah, and his connection was gone, and I wouldn't hear from him until the next day. So yeah, John, you're right. They do mess with you sometimes. Uh, okay. I don't see anything back from Mika here. Um,
Oh God, how much of the like stuff that they're pumping out us at school? It hurts to look.
all right, everybody. I'm gonna just cut it there for tonight, and I'll edit some of this out in audio. Thank you everybody for watching. Have a great night, and if you can, get the hell away from these screens and go outside.